Hi, beloved. I am really delighted to share a little story with you, a childhood one. Yeah, and if you've been watching my videos for some time now, you know where I'm going with this. You already know, beloved. You already know. So, I'm gonna share the experience and I'm gonna relate it to God. Yes. You know, what's really amazing to me is that a lot of life's experiences can be related to God. Can be, it can be served as examples in how we are to live uprightly in God, in how sin can be described, in how uh, easy concepts can be broken down through experiences. God can simplify things through our experiences for us. He can. God speaks to us in a variety of ways, and it's through. Um, is this? Is this okay? Sorry. It's through everyday things, everyday encounters that the Lord can speak to us in. Yeah? Am I wrong, beloved? No. Because if you have been walking with God for years upon years, or for months, truly walking with Him, you can start to experience Him in everyday life experiences. So let me share the experience with you, beloved. I'd show you, beloved, how I would relate that childhood experience to God. So are you ready? Are you ready, beloved, to hear the experience I have to give you now? If you've said yes, beloved, then let's get right into it, shall we? You ready? Here we go. Here we go. So I was around 14 years old. My dad and I had went to the grocery to get a couple of things my mom wanted to make lunch for me and my brother. And as we were walking and getting the things, my eyes, it just fell on this large pack of pre-made chicken nuggets. Yeah, you've heard me right. Chicken nuggets at that time was my absolute favorite thing. I am telling you, beloved, chicken nuggets, beloved, was one of the few things I'd eat. Yes, I was that picky. So at that time, beloved, we were on a budget. Yeah, we we were very careful with what we were buying and the cost of it. We had certain expenses to take care of. So, we really had to be mindful with what we were buying and the cost of it. So my dad, beloved, he was caught up with comparing brands of a certain thing for my mom. He was, I guess he was possibly looking at price ranges and what would be the best buy. So while he was doing that, I watched the pack of chicken nuggets. I watched it, beloved. I watched it. And then when I kept turning back to see whether he'd come to put whatever he decided on in the trolley or the cart, right? And so I kept on looking back to see whether he was coming or not, and if he wasn't, I'd glance at the chicken nuggets again, because I told you that was my favorite thing to eat. We'd go to several restaurants as children, and I would always order the chicken nuggets. Yeah, it would always be my order, my go-to. So when I realized that my dad was coming back with the item in his hand, I just approached another direction so that he wouldn't, you know, figure out what I was doing, because he knew, beloved, that chicken nuggets was my favorite thing at that time. I mean, I still like it, but at that time it was my absolute favorite. So when he went, before he could have realized what I was doing, I headed a different direction, and I waited for him, and he came, and we eventually went to cash the few things that we got for my mom, and yeah, so hear this now. Yeah, beloved, you'll want to. You'll really want to. Here's why. When we got home and we, some time passed, my dad, beloved, my dad, he told my mom about the chicken nuggets that I was looking at. And I mean, how I knew this was because my mom, she told me. But yeah, and he was telling her out of his big heart that he wished he could have afforded it for me. He wished he could have bought it for me. He wished at that very moment that he could have blessed me with it, because he knew how much I love it. But so my mom, she told me how sorry he was, how heartbroken he was that he couldn't have afforded it for me. And I was so understanding about it, because in the grocery, beloved, I could have been demanding that he buy it for me. I could have been a cranky child, a very, adamant child. I could have thrown a fit. I could have gotten my way if I was set in my ways to really have it. I could have made a scene. I mean, there were things I could have done. I mean, if you know your parents would give in, if you react or act a certain way, then why not do it? But beloved, I was so understanding. I was so, like, there was a part of me that knew I would get it. Though I really wanted it, I believed that one day I would get it. And man, would I be so grateful. And man, would that be such a glorious day, really, because I would have remembered how much I've been waiting for it, how much I've been wanting it. But I'd be so grateful and contented on that day, beloved, that I finally got it. And that my wait, it was a bit of a long time, but I'd be so overwhelmed with joy that my wait, it really did pay off. My wait, it was really lengthy, but man, am I so grateful now. Am I in such a joyous tears now, and on that day I'd be so and on that day I'd be so joyful. I just wouldn't be able to contain my happiness, you know. Alright, beloved, here we go. Let's dive deep into that relation of God that I have to give you now. How can it relate to God? I mean, you probably have a little idea right now. You probably have some little clues, don't you, beloved? Don't you? So here's what I have to say. Alright, beloved, we can believe that God is withholding good from us. We can believe that He doesn't want us to flourish, succeed, or do well in this life, because He is constantly saying no to a certain thing. It's like He is either saying, no, this is not for you, my child. No, I want you to wait. No, I highly suggest that you do not go about doing this. I am telling you, my child, that if you say yes to this, man, would the consequences be harsh. Man, would the life of heartache be so be such an intensely sorrowful time. Yeah. And it's like, but I don't see this, Lord, this side of it. I don't see these aspects that you are that you are so confidently saying. And you know, beloved, you know the words of the Lord are true. But if there's some of you that want to fulfill your ways, want to go about doing things your way, they are those who know that the words of the Lord are true, but you disregard it. You dismiss it altogether. Because your ways, it's like your ways, you want your ways above the Lord's. More than you want the ways of the Lord. More than you want to fulfill the ways of the Lord. You want your ways so much so that you are willing to face these consequences and these sometimes lifelong heartaches. In the grocery, I could have been like, my dad is withholding good from me. But I didn't. But, if another child was in my position, who knows, they probably would have thought that exact thought, that their dad is withholding good from them. I was that person, beloved, who wanted my ways so much so that I ignored the very words of the Lord, that I that when I said yes to my ways and I went about in it, when I was in the deep of it, man, did I see the consequences. Man, did I see why the Lord was saying to abstain from it. Man, did I see why the Lord was saying that I shouldn't go about doing it. Man, did I see, beloved, why he was so. I saw why the Lord spoke so firmly and strictly to me. Yes. But I wanted my ways, beloved. I wanted to fulfill my ways and go about treading on my own paths. But it left me broken, incomplete, lost. Yes, wounded. So I did not think at all my dad was withholding good from me in the ghost tree. But if another child was in my position, I'm not saying this for sure, but I know there are some children who would have thought to themselves or said aloud that my parents are withholding good from me, but in their way, like, you don't want me to have this, you hate me, you don't love me, you don't want me to have this because you don't think I'm good enough for you, you don't want me to have this because you just you don't want to buy nice things for me, do nice things for me, in how children speak. I was so amazed, and I was so, like, I didn't know that he wanted to buy it for me so much. I didn't know that he caught me watching it. I didn't know that his heart melted with sorrow that he couldn't have afforded it for me. And you know what, my beloved? It reminded me of our Heavenly Father. It really did, beloved, because He knows every desire of your heart. He knows those desires that you are not giving so much of your time to, that you are not giving so much of your time to dwell upon, to think upon, to just he sees that you are laying it aside. My beloved, he sees those longings and those desires that you placed aside because you don't want it to become an idolic worship. You don't want it to turn into idolatry. Yeah, beloved. He sees those desires and longings that you placed aside because you don't want it to become an idolic worship, that you don't want it to turn into idolatry, that you don't want it to exceed the Lord's place in your heart, that you don't want it to come between your relationship with God. He sees it. He really sees it. But you know what? He takes those desires into consideration, into deep consideration. He takes those desires into meaningful consideration. He those desires that you think wouldn't matter to him really matters to him. It really matters to him. Every detail of your life matters to him greatly. Greatly. So you may think that he isn't noticing, or he isn't figuring out, or he isn't so concerned with, but he is. He sees the longings of your heart. He sees those desires that you so eagerly want to come to pass. And just like my father, you'd think that God isn't watching or observing or noticing, but He is. He is. But you see, beloved, why He says no, or why you think He isn't, like, why you think He isn't caring about it as much as He should, or or why you think it isn't a great concern to Him, or um or you may think that He isn't placing time to understand how much it means to you, and how much like how dear it actually is to your heart. He is. It just may not appear so, because He says no, or He says wait. He says a little longer, or He says no, abstain. So you have to understand that those very words are out of a purposeful and meaningful heart, because it's not that He is withholding something good from you, but it's that He is preparing something better and greater for you, beloved, for you. And good things, it takes time. It takes it takes really long to come to pass. But when it does, man, would it be a tree of life? Man, would it be would it be a dream come true? Man, would it be a desire that I never thought I'd be actually living out? So every one of God's no, it's for a good and loving reason. It's always out of a good heart. It's always because He has better in mind for you. And it might appear to an extent that He is a hateful God, that He doesn't see you, that He doesn't, that He doesn't understand what you are enduring. But He does. He just has greater and better in mind. He doesn't just want the bare minimum for you, beloved. He wants to exceed your very expectations. He wants to surpass your version of a good blessing, or even a great one. And my dad, he told my mom, and I'd never know how he really felt. I'd never know he really wanted to buy that for me. And it's like when you seek God, when you realize that He does delight in every detail of your life, man. And it's like when you see instances in the Bible, when you see these actual stories taking place, and how God, delighted in helping them, in how He delighted in showing mercy, in displaying His sovereign hand, in sparing punishments in the Old Testament. If you read the Old Testament, you would see how much times God spared His people from punishment, because His mercy was so great towards them. how much God actually does care, how much God actually does delight in the satisfaction of his people, how much he really loves his people. Even in his rebukes, even in his chastisements, even in his, even in his sometimes difficult will, you'd see, beloved, from making that time to seek him and making that time to really know him, you'd see how merciful and loving and gracious and how much of a good God we serve. Yeshua HaMashiach. You'd see. You know how gracious he was with Gideon? You know how much signs Gideon asked for? And he gave him. Beloved, do me a big favor today. Take some time in your busy days to read God's word. Because, beloved, from hearing what a lot of people have to say, from here, a lot of false perceptions are made today because of the lies of the enemy, because of bad experiences, because of not actually seeking God, and because God isn't properly sought, false perceptions are made. But if you really seek the Lord with an earnest heart and a willing attitude, and if you really seek him diligently, you will find him. And you wouldn't just find him, but you would know the truths about him. You would know who he really is, and how loving and gracious and merciful he is. How much of a good God we serve today. How much of a good God we get to serve today. Alright, my beloved, and I mean, there's a lot more I can say about this childhood experience, but may that be enough for now. May that encourage your soul and bring healing to your heart and joy to your life. And beloved, there's a lot I can say about that childhood experience, but may this be enough for now. May what I say be enough for now. May what I say bring healing to your heart, beloved, joy to your life, beloved, and may it bring some revelation to your life. May it bring healing to your soul. May it may this be good nutrition for your soul. Yeah? I pray, beloved, that this video, it would be a blessing to you.